Do you know how much money was spent by Championship clubs in total this summer? £220 million. That's the sixth most by any league in the world, including La Liga in Spain. The financial power of this league continues to be very strong, but the question is not who's spending the most, who's spending it the best. So I've gone through every club in the Championship and narrowed it down to the very best. I'm Ryan Dilks from the second tier, and these are the top 10 transfers of the summer just gone in the Championship. I will add a caveat here: if there's a signing your club has made from abroad, there's a high chance they haven't been included simply because I don't know much about them or how they'll take to the Championship. I'll also add these aren't the top 10 players who have moved clubs in the Championship this summer. I'm judging it based on value and how good these moves could be in the long term. Let's begin. Number 10, Luke McNali to Bristol City for £1.75 million. Burnley signed McNali in 2022 and never really seemed to have any intention of actually using him regularly. Since then, he's moved on loan to Coventry and Stoke and has now got a move away permanently. But in those loan spells, he's really stood out in the Championship. At Coventry, he became pivotal for them at centre-back and played a big part in an upturn in their form, which saw them get to the playoff final. And then he was a regular at Stoke last season as well. They didn't have a great season, did Stoke, and fans there will give you a mixed response if you ask them about McNally, but in terms of his underlying numbers, he was one of their best players. At 24 years old, he's got plenty of room to grow and plenty of time left in his career. Just under £2 million seems like a really good bit of business. At number 9, Scott Twine to Bristol City for £3 million. I promise this list isn't completely made up of Bristol City players. I'm just a really big fan of Scott Twine. He's the uber talented player with the extremely posh voice.
Hello everyone, it's Scott Twine here. I'm delighted to sign for Burnley and I can't wait to get started. Up the Clarets.
But look, this lad was unbelievable for MK Dons a few seasons ago. 20 goals and 13 assists from midfield, and his goal catalogue from that season in League One is absolutely mind-blowing. Unfortunately, since moving to Burnley in 2022, he struggled with injuries and game time. Otherwise, he could be playing in the Premier League right now. £3 million may seem a lot for a player who's struggled over the past couple of seasons, but this move back to Bristol City sees him reunite with Liam Manning, who got the best out of him at MK Dons. If he does that again, Scott Twine will be central to a potential playoff push for Bristol City. At number 8, Mikey Johnston to West Brom for £3 million. It's fair to say Mikey Johnston's had a fairly tough time at Celtic over the past few years. After coming through the club's academy and breaking into the first team in 2019, injuries and just generally not being fancied by various managers have meant his chances have been limited at Celtic Park. He went on loan to Vitória in Portugal 2 seasons ago, but didn't have much luck there either. It wasn't until he went on loan to West Brom last season that his career seemed to get back on track. He made his first start in February on the left wing and would go on to score 6 goals in 7 games for the Albion. He was on fire for that spell. His form did drop off again as West Brom's form dipped, but he left a lasting impression on supporters in the West Midlands. Sheffield United nearly signed Johnston this past summer, but West Brom nipped in at the last minute to get him back on a permanent deal. And I get the feeling that the right manager could turn this lad into a real star and make £3 million look like an absolute bargain. If anyone can do that, it's Carlos Corberán. He's still only 25 years old, and let's hope that this bad luck is finally past him and his career can properly get going again. At number 7, it's Callum O'Hare to Sheffield United on a free transfer. Everyone knew Callum O'Hare would be leaving Coventry City on a free this summer, and I expected him to move to the Premier League, so the fact Sheffield United got him on a free transfer is a massive coup. When he's been fit, he's been such a difference maker for Coventry. If you give him the ball in the middle of the park, he can make things happen. He's a fantastic dribbler and a bit of a foul magnet. There's a reason why he's been compared to Jack Grealish on numerous occasions. The issue is, with O'Hare, is his end product. 14 goals and 24 assists in 133 Championship appearances. It's not great. He should have a lot more, but he's such a talented player and the right manager could revolutionise his game. He's still 26, so time is very much on his side in that regard, and on a free transfer, this could be a phenomenal signing. Number 6, Manor Solomon to Leeds United on loan. Leeds had one task as they got towards the end of this transfer window, and that was replace Crescencio Somerville and Jorginho Ruta. Unfortunately, that's an impossible task because a Championship side isn't going to sign a player as good as either of those two. But in Manor Solomon, they've done as well as they possibly could have. A few years ago, when he was at Shakhtar, he was one of the most highly sought-after players in the world of football. He was being linked with so many of Europe's biggest clubs after a cracking 2019-20 season where he scored against Man City and twice against Real Madrid in the Champions League. He would keep on impressing until the war in Ukraine, which left his career in limbo. He moved on loan to Fulham in 2022, where he had a great spell after coming back from injury. He would move to Tottenham, where things haven't gone so well because of injury, but there's clearly a very talented player in there, and it was a shock that Leeds managed to get him in the Championship. This is a loan without an option to buy, but it doesn't matter if he helps get Leeds promoted back to the Premier League this season. The main reason he's not higher in this list is his injury record. He suffered bad injuries in each of his last two seasons, which have seen him miss at least half the season each time. If the injuries stay away, this will be a great move, but unfortunately it's a big if. If he does suffer another bad injury, I assume this loan won't be cheap, and it could burn quite a big hole in Leeds' pocket. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Number 5, Hannibal Medre to Burnley for £5.4 million, potentially rising to £9.4 million. When this transfer happened, I was surprised that Hannibal was willing to drop down to the Championship. He played a handful of games for Manchester United and Sevilla last season, and I had assumed if he was going to leave, it would be to a Premier League side. So for Burnley to get him, for quite a low fee in today's market, looks great business. He's such an entertaining player to watch in midfield, mainly because he never stops running and is more than happy to throw himself into a tackle. But he's also great fun on the ball, capable of the spectacular from out of nowhere. At 21 years old, he's got such a bright future ahead of him as well. It says a lot that Manchester United inserted a buyback clause into this deal, so they clearly think he can still develop into a top player. The buyback clause is actually one reason why he's not higher in this list, because it may restrict the amount of money Burnley get for him in the future. But he can become a big fan favourite at Turf Moor, especially if he plays a key role in a promotion season. Number 4, Joe Rothen to Leeds United for £10 million. This is by far the most expensive transfer on this list, and it's the only thing holding it back from being any higher. But it says a lot about how good Joe Rothen is that £10 million still seems like a bloody good deal. He was, of course, at Leeds last season and was, for me, the best centre-back in the division. He was an absolute warrior at the back, excellent at stopping attacks, putting his body on the line, but also superb when it comes to playing out from the back. Joe Rothen is a proper Rolls-Royce centre-back. There was an insane spell last season where Leeds only conceded 3 goals in 13 games, with him at the heart of that form. It was nearly what catapulted Leeds towards automatic promotion. The long and short of it is this: if Leeds got promoted last season, the first player they had to sign was Joe Rothen. The fact they didn't go up and still got him is pretty remarkable. If they do go up this season, they've got a Premier League ready centre-back pairing of him and Pascal Struijk. He's still only 26 as well, and he could become a modern day Leeds United legend. Number 3, Michael Cooper to Sheffield United for £2 million. I rate Michael Cooper so highly as a goalkeeper. If it wasn't for injuries, I believe he'd be playing regularly in the Premier League right now. He is honestly such a brilliant shot stopper, so getting him for just £2 million is an absolute steal. He was in the last year of his contract at Plymouth, so they had to sell him or potentially lose him for nothing next summer. And Sheffield United took full advantage of that, hence why they got him so cheap. He was getting quite a lot of interest from the Premier League as well, and Blades could very feasibly get 10 times what they paid for him in the future, because at just 24 years old, he's got a long career ahead of him still, and I would not rule out him being involved in the England setup at some point in the future, as well as being a regular Premier League goalkeeper, a top signing for a top keeper. Number 2, Koko Dembele to QPR, a loan with an option to make the move permanent for £1.4 million. Now, I wouldn't usually have a loan so high in this list, but it's the option to make the deal permanent for £1.4 million, which makes it rank so highly. For anyone who doesn't follow the EFL, you may remember Koko Dembele from Celtic, where he was being tipped for massive things. He got a lot of attention after playing for Celtic's under-20s team at the age of 13. Just think about that for a second. A 13-year-old playing for an under-20s team. It's crazy. He would go on to make his senior debut at the age of 16, but for a long time he barely featured in the Celtic squad for many years, and it seemed like his early hype may have been misplaced. Dembele would eventually be released before moving to French side Brest, where again he barely featured. He would go on loan to Blackpool in 2023, still only aged 20, and it fully got his career back on track. He got 8 goals and 13 assists in League One for the Seasiders last season, despite only becoming a first-team regular in mid-November. So a player who's now 21 doing that in League One, he was always going to get a lot of attention from Championship sides, and Dembele did. He seemed to be linked with everyone this summer, but it was QPR who won the race, and he has looked so excited for them in these first few games. And potentially signing for them for less than $1.5 million would be an incredible bit of business, especially given his early potential in his career. And number 1 of this list of the top 10 transfers across the Championship this summer, Harrison Burrows to Sheffield United, £3 million, potentially rising to £6 million. Harrison Burrows has been one of the best young players in the whole of the EFL for many years with Peterborough, and Posh knew it was going to be a struggle to keep hold of him if they didn't get promoted last season. Unfortunately for them, even if they did go up, it was unlikely they would hold on to Harrison Burrows because he's destined for bigger things. He played every game for Peterborough last season, getting 6 goals and 15 assists from left back, and also winning the League One Player of the Season. Just think about that for a second. How good must you be if you're a left back winning Player of the Season for the whole league? It's crazy. He was also averaging by far the most chances created per game in League One, and scored twice in the EFL Trophy Final to win Peterborough only their second trophy from the past 50 years. At 22 years old, this lad has such a bright future and is almost guaranteed to be in the Premier League in the coming years. I wouldn't even rule out the England squad at some point. He's got a wicked left foot, but he's also excellent at the defensive side of the game too. He's so good, in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if he moves into midfield at some point, so he has more of an influence on the game. He's just that good. At £3 million though, this is such a phenomenal bit of business. I know it is rising to £6 million, but £3 million is just wow. And I'm sure Sheffield United fans will be looking back at this in a few years' time and be going, wow, how did we get him for so little? So do you agree with my list? Let me know in the comments section below. If you think there's anyone I've missed out, then please let me know in the comments section below. I'm always interested to see what you guys have to say, particularly when it comes to a top 10 list like this. If you've enjoyed the video, please make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this over the season. And I'll give a quick shout out for our podcast episode, which is coming out on Thursday, where Justin and I will be going through the clubs which have had the best and worst windows in the Championship, as well as a few other takes from the transfer window as a whole in the Championship. You don't want to miss it. Keep an eye out for that over the next day or two. But I've been Ryan Dilks from the Second Tier. A big thank you for watching, and we'll be back again very soon.